Well, stock markets are trading around record highs, if not at record highs. Let's get more on this and an overall outlook for the markets as we're joined by Jerome Hass, partner at Lightwater Partners. Jerome, thanks as always for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Roger.
Let's talk about the TSX right now. Great year, outperformed south of the border, and again this year it's off to quite the start.
Yeah, it's been a very punchy start to the year. I think we're up about 3.5% to 4% in Toronto, a little less so south of the border. But, as January goes, so goes the year. And so it bodes very well for 2026 going forward.
Now, I mean, I know we like to say that with January, but this has kind of been, this last year has been a year of the sayings don't necessarily hold true sometimes. We saw in September, we didn't really see much of a Christmas rally, or a late one, I guess. Are there reasons to believe that we can follow that one this time?
Well, it has been a more muted January effect in that some of the losers or the laggards from last year have not vastly outperformed this year. We've seen continued performance from the golds, and the banks have done reasonably well this month too. So it's continuing on what we saw in 2025. But that being said, I think the banks are at 14 times valuation on average, and analysts are looking for about 7% growth this year ahead. So that's a relatively muted outlook for the banking sector, which is, a big sector within the TSX. Gold continues to show strength, but you kind of go, where's the leadership going to come from in the TSX? And that's the interesting question.
And where are you looking then?
Well, we always look at the midcaps. We honestly don't own anything in the TSX composite. We tend to look at the midcaps, which tend to be undervalued and under-researched as far as we're concerned. And, they were laggards last year, and so we continue to see some value within those names.
Now, when you say laggard, what were they behind last year?
I'm going to guess I think the TSX was up 28. We were probably up about half that. It's still a reasonable year, but clearly lags the main index.
And are you seeing opportunities then this year because of that?
Yeah, we always see opportunities within the mid-cap space because we just think it's a very inefficient segment of the market, and so we're always touting mid-cap stocks.
And what are you using? What are you helping with your decision making on the mid-caps? What are you looking for in them?
Well, sometimes it's valuation. Sometimes it's just a compelling story, bottom-up story. And, sometimes you think that there's a situation where the analyst or the investment community hasn't fully embraced the upside of a stock. And so sometimes a stock that may seem overvalued actually has huge potential upside to it still. Other times there's a stock that trades well below its target price of the analyst, and there's value in that too. So it really depends on individual stocks.
And what is it you think that people shy away from with the mid caps?
Well, it's a structure within Canada. To be honest, every bank has a compliance department, and if you're an investment advisor and you invest in something that's not on the compliance official list, you're going to be harassed by your compliance department until you throw up your hands and say it's not worth it. That's why we've seen an outflow for the last 2 decades in mid-cap and small-cap stocks within Canada.
And is that making it harder for you? Or are you looking where they're going? Are they going south of the border then?
Yeah, I mean, you look at, when we were younger and graduated from university, you wanted to make your money. You got excited about micro caps and small caps because you could see, friends would talk about 5-baggers or 10-baggers. Nowadays, kids graduate from university and they start investing. They want to have a sliver of a mega tech in the U.S. because they view NVIDIA or Google or names like that or Tesla as the place to invest. And they're not really that interested in investing in the Canadian market, and especially the smaller to mid-cap space.
Which offers up some opportunities. Are there certain sectors you're focusing on, or just across?
No, we look at everything. We tend to avoid the resource space, but we do like oil and gas, and so we do have exposure to that. But again, it really tends to be bottom up rather than any particular sector that we focus on.
And you got a couple of ideas you're liking right now. Kraken Robotics, what are you liking with that?
Yeah, no, this is a case where, the stock trades around 8.5. I think the average analyst is about 6.5 in the stock. And so what is really missing from the story from the analyst point of view is just what the upside looks like. And this is a defense-related stock, which is a real rarity in Canada. And they produce, they're known for the batteries in what they call UUVs, which are unmanned underwater vehicles, essentially underwater drones. And they are the best the leading supplier of this in the world, really. And so they're tied to Anduril in the States, which is a big defense contractor there that's a disruptor within the defense space. And they've recently launched a product in Australia with Anduril, which is called the Ghost, I forget the name of the Ghost ship, but Ghost Shark it is. And, that's a sign of what they can do in the short term. But what's exciting about the stock is that Canada is going to be investing another $82 billion in its defense budget this year. And on top of that, Canada's recently joined the EU's Safe Defense Procurement Program, which has about $40 billion to invest, and Kraken is an obvious beneficiary of that.
All right, we almost out of time. I want to get in TrueLeaf quickly. Cannabis, I think it's just kind of gone over to the corner somewhere, hasn't it?
Yeah, no one ever talks about cannabis anymore. It's no longer of interest to retail investors, and it's certainly not interesting to institutional investors. And sometimes you can get oversized returns based on that. And what's interesting about the cannabis space right now is that in the middle of December, Trump signed an executive order that instructed the Attorney General in the states to reschedule cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. That'll have profound changes in the sector. And so when the Attorney General gets around to executing that, which could be any day now, you'll see a pop in the stock and the whole sector. And we think TrueLeaf is the best of the cannabis names out there for those that bother to focus on fundamentals.
Okay, we have to wrap it up there, but Jerome, thanks as always for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Jerome Hass is partner at Lightwater Partners.